live action moving stuff, and other ones are better for like gaming and things like that. So find out which downscale filter works best for you. And the next part, in the last part inside the video settings, is FPS values. I tend to leave it on common FPS values, and if you are streaming or recording, I like 30 or 60. If you're doing any kind of cinematic work and you need these other resolutions in here, they are already pretty much in here. I don't know of any other resolutions or frame rate people might be looking to record or stream at. Maybe if you want to go really high frame rate over 60, you could do that in here with the integer FPS value. But for everybody else, I would suggest 30 or 60, depending on which you plan on recording or streaming at. The next thing to look at is audio. When it comes to the general settings, I normally suggest leaving everything alone if you're not familiar with sample rate and the different types of audio channels. However, if you are experiencing some issues with the audio, the sample rate may be causing that. So look into what your devices like natively support for sample rate, but pretty much everything by default in Windows, not everything, but most everything defaults to 44.1 kilohertz. And if you have issues with it, like I said, go ahead and look at that. Channels, if you're not certain what those are, stereo is pretty typical for everybody. And I don't know really anybody who's doing surround sound inside of OBS, but it's definitely something you have the option to do. And then there's also mono, but for the most part, 44.1 and stereo works for pretty much everybody. Next up is the audio devices. The first two options are for desktop audio. This is where you would typically hear audio from, for example, like your headphones or speakers. You would set this if you wanted people to hear what you hear, for example, whenever you're streaming. The other options are for microphones or auxiliary inputs. This is for devices that you would use to typically talk to people. So for example, like a dedicated microphone or a microphone that's built into your headset, you would select those here. I'm not too certain what the meters are typically used for, so I'm not going to act like I know what those are. And then moving down to advanced monitoring devices. Monitoring devices used for testing audio levels inside of OBS or just hearing back what is being played. And this is great if you're trying to use it to balance multiple audio channels at once. So if you had like 3 or 4 microphones inputted into OBS, this would give you a good understanding, and you could hear back of what all the audio sounds like kind of meshed together, and you could adjust those as needed. The last section in here is audio hotkeys, and you can enable push to mute and push to talk for your specific microphones. So this is a really cool feature that you can go ahead and do, and then you can even add a delay in for those push to talks or push to mutes. Moving over to the streaming settings, this is where you would go to go ahead and configure a stream. All you have to do is click on a service and then select your service from a drop-down menu. So for example, if we select something like YouTube, it's going to ask for a stream key. Click on this right here. It'll take you directly to where you need to get your stream key from, and go ahead and copy and paste it in here. I want to state that if you have a stream key, this to 4,500 kilobits per second. So 4500, and that is what I need to set my bitrate to. Once again, reference that page. It is extremely useful. Next up is the encoder. If you have a NVIDIA graphics card, then you should see hardware NVENC. There's a possibility you see hardware NVENC mu. What I would suggest is if you have the hardware NVENC or NVENC mu, go ahead and use those. Those are going to help your computer hardware not be as bogged down from the recording and stuff of OBS. This is extremely useful if you're playing any video games or if you have a lot of processing work going on for whatever you're recording or streaming. So that's definitely something I would recommend. If you don't have those options, software X264 is pretty good depending on the hardware on your computer, so just go ahead and try it if that's If you're an audio wizard and understand audio quite a bit, then adjust the bitrate as you see fit, but for most streams and most people recording, 160 is perfectly fine. Next is the recording settings. This, in my opinion, is way easier to explain and is easier to set up, specifically because you don't have to run, speed tests to figure out what your bitrate needs to be and things like that, and internet speed doesn't dictate anything here because it's saving to your computer. The recording path is going to be where your videos are saved to, so click browse and pick a place where you want your videos to be saved. Your recording quality, that specifies how compressed the video file sizes are, which the more compressed they are, the worse the video quality will be, but the smaller the video size, the file size will be. So, the more you go up, the larger the sizes are going to be, but the better the video is going to be. From my experience, indistinguishable quality, large file size, if you've got enough storage space, is really good because the file sizes are somewhat manageable and the quality is really, really good. If for some reason you wanted to specify what the bit rate is, if you're like, hey, my stream looks really good and I just want to record the same exact settings as my stream, you could set that here and it will pull the streaming bit rate and encoder options and things like that. The recording format is how it's saved. I suggest MP4 because it is just very, very widespread and is pretty much usable in any video editing. The encoder is similar to the streaming option. If you have the option for hardware NVENC, select it. If you don't, software X264 is fine as well. We're not going to mess with any of the custom muxer settings, but if you are interested, click on this checkbox here to open up replay buffer. This allows you to set like a flashback recording similar to features on things like Xbox and PlayStation, where you can record like the last 30 seconds or last few minutes. You can set the time that you want to record here and then how much memory you're willing to allocate to that. This next section is probably one of my favorites, and that is hotkeys. Hotkeys allow you to assign specific keys or keyboard combinations to do certain actions. So for example, if we wanted to mute our mic, we'll go down here to our microphone, and we wanted to mute it with the key combination of Shift plus F12. We can hold down Shift and then press F12, and it will assign this value to it. And then say you want to unmute with Shift plus F12 as well. We can do that, and then we can click Apply, and then OK. And then now if I hold down Shift and F12 on my keyboard, you can see that it muted my microphone inside of this program. And if I press it again, it'll unmute it. And the really neat thing about these hotkeys is that you can assign them for a pretty much almost everything that's in here. You can set them for doing transitions, starting and stopping streams, pausing recording, starting replay buffers, switching to scenes, muting your microphone, muting the desktop audio's microphone, or the desktop audio that is, and so much more. The advanced settings has a few things that I'd like to point out, while other things in here are a little more niche and aren't relevant to 99% of people. So I wanted to make that disclaimer before I skip over a few things in here. Starting first with process priority. This is kind of cool. It lets you essentially tell Windows how important your OBS recording or streaming is, and this can determine whether Windows allocates this more resources, depending on how the process priority is set. So if you were doing something really critical and you wanted to make sure this works at all costs, you could set this to a higher priority, but for the most part, if your computer is pretty decent for what you're doing, normal shouldn't work. The next thing I would look at inside of here would be the recording. This gives you modifiers for setting file name formatting, which is really cool because this helps you not delete files on accident, because you can know exactly when you recorded them just by looking at the file type, you know, and there are just tons of other things. You can, you know, see whether the output resolution was recorded at 720p and all of these things, and you can set custom file formatting tags right here, and it is just really, really cool. Another thing that might be useful is stream delay. This can be turned on and enabled here, and then you can set a duration that you want to go ahead and delay the stream by. So if you wanted to delay your stream by 20, 30 seconds, even a minute, 2 minutes, 5, 10 minutes, you can do that. This is great if you're playing, like, say, video games and you're streaming yourself in a tournament, or if you're just playing online and you are a popular streamer or somebody that's doing pretty decent streaming and you just don't want to get stream sniped. So this is a really cool setting there. Automatically reconnect. This is pretty neat if you do have internet issues from time to time. What this will do is, after so many seconds, so say every 10 seconds, we're going to try to reconnect the stream back to whatever server you're streaming to, whether that's YouTube, Twitch, Mixer, things like that. Maximum retries, this just means we're going to try it every 10 seconds 20 times, and then if it doesn't, then we're just going to stop. And pretty much everything else in here, like I said, is kind of niche and not relevant to most people that this tutorial is kind of being aimed at. So if you have any questions about that, maybe let me know in the comment section down below and I'll try to answer it if I can. Now we're going to talk about scenes. Scenes are really cool because it gives you a lot of options from a creative standpoint. It allows you to have different point of views. It allows you to add be right back screens, intros, outros to streams and things like that, and even just different recording options and layouts, which is really, really cool. So we can see here we've got one scene. If we want to add a scene, we click on the plus button and we can rename the scene here in real time, and we can add, I don't know how many, but we can add quite a few. So we can add, I don't know how many, but we could add a lot. If you want to remove a scene, just highlight the scene in the list, click the negative button, click yes. You can right click and add a new scene. You can right click on a scene and remove it. And then you can also change the order of scenes by using these arrow buttons here or by dragging them. Another really cool feature of scenes are scene collections. So say we had a need of where we stream to one account that is my personal Twitch account, and we have branding and everything for that set up in a bunch of scenes for that. And then say we do a charity stream, we want to stream for a charity, and we have different scenes for that. Well, instead of having all of your scenes for your personal account and then scenes for a charity account in one collection of scenes, we can create a new collection, title that, and put all of those scenes in there. That way they are very simple to swap back and forth from those groups. Next up is sources. We're going to talk about adding them, naming them, moving them, resizing them, hiding them, locking them, cropping them, and explaining all of the different kinds of them. So I know that's a lot, but we're going to break those down slowly but surely. So we're going to add a display capture so I can show you guys what I'm talking about with those first few things that I mentioned. So we're not going to give them a name right off the bat because we're going to be used to something. So display capture is going to essentially capture what all is on a monitor. So I'm going to select my left monitor. That way it's not as disorienting with that whatever effect we would call that. And what we're going to do is resize it. So we have to select an object before we can resize it. So we can select the display capture by clicking here in sources, or if we click directly on it. Sometimes it's difficult to do that if you have other sources in front. That's why I explain it this way, so you can actually see multiple ways of doing it. To move something, all you do is click on it and drag, and you can see we're moving it around inside of the frame. We can also scale things down by grabbing on the corners and pulling them like this, so we're able to scale this down to something like here. If you get somewhere, something in here and you're wanting to center it, you can actually do transform controls, for example, if we wanted to center to screen, we could do that, or we could just center vertically under the transform. We can rotate things inside of here using this. So that's kind of cool. So we'll reset transform, and we can see that this is actually back to the original layout. If we didn't want this to move, we could click on the lock here, and this will keep us from being able to move it. If we wanted to hide the source, we could click on the eye tool there, And then another really cool feature is if we needed to crop something, we can hold down Alt, and then instead of grabbing on the corner, which actually we can grab on the corner too, you can see that we're cropping it down like that, or we could crop in from the sides and things like that. So once again, just hold down Alt and grab one of these transform controls and drag it around, and then you can do that. And then the last thing inside of the sources that you can do to each individual source is rename. So right click on it, and then we could call this like monitor left, or maybe left monitor sounds better. So we'll do that and then enter. All right, so now I'm going to show you guys how to build a very, very basic scene involving quite a bit of the most common sources inside of OBS. So first thing we're going to do, and I want to mention this is not meant to be a very pretty looking scene. This is specifically to show you guys a bunch of the different features. So I'm going to create a color source, click OK. We're going to select a color, and this essentially just gives us a colored canvas. We'll click OK, and we're going to leave this as our background. We don't want this to move, so we're going to click on the lock here. So we've got our color source, and let's go ahead and rename that. We're going to rename that to background. And let's go ahead and click on the plus again. We want to add something else in. We're going to add in a video capture device. So this will be like a webcam or any kind of video input. And we're going to rename this to webcam because we're going to use our webcam. And I don't want to use that webcam. I actually have a better webcam, so we're going to use this one. So we'll go ahead and do that and click on OK. And we can actually drag this around and we can resize it. So we're going to resize this maybe to somewhere right around here, and we'll leave that alone. And we're going to go ahead and lock that. Now we want, let's say we want a display capture. So we'll click on plus here, display capture, and we'll do this same as we did a second ago, left monitor. Click OK. I'm going to select my left monitor from the list of items I have, and then I'm going to downscale this. And then we're going to put this somewhere right around here. So let's kind of scale this up. That's pretty cool. And we could, so we've done color source, video capture, display capture. I'll show you guys what I'll lock this source really quick. I'll show you what a game capture kind of looks like for setting up. We'll click game capture and click OK. And then mode, you can specify whether it's just anything that's full screen. So most games play in full screen. If not, you can select window and then tell it which window you want it to capture. Super simple. And game capture, in my opinion, is 100% recommended if you're playing a game. It's optimized to run better for a game than a display capture. Display capture eats up a lot more resources, so that is something to keep in mind. So I'm going to go ahead and right click and remove, and then click yes. And let's add in an image. So to do that, click on plus image, and I'm going to just add in the OBS logo. And I'm going to find that really quick. All right, so once I found my image, I'll just go ahead and click OK. And I've got the image in here now, and we can see that it is ginormous. So we're going to go ahead and scale that down. And let's just go ahead and put it over here by me. So we'll go ahead and do this. And now that we've got that, we've got an image. Let's go ahead and add in some text. So we'll go to text GDI. And we'll just name this text because we're very creative today. And we're going to tell you guys thank you for watching. I would say please subscribe, but I feel like that's pushing it too far, guys. If you're this far and you haven't subscribed, what are you doing? Come on, guys. But yeah, so we'll go ahead and add that in there. So that's how you could add in some text. And let's look at browser sources now. And then we will look at two more things, which is really neat. So to add a browser source, you'll click the plus and then browser. And we're going to add in a Twitch chat, which is kind of cool. So we'll type in Twitch chat and click OK. And some of these programs support this by default, adding in a Twitch chat, but there's a lot of different reasons why you might want a browser source. So what a browser source does is it takes a specific URL. So this URL, for example, just has this, or a website. So actually, I'll show you that really quick. So if I went to twitch.tv twitch.tv scopes GG and did this, it would actually load my Twitch page. So that's kind of cool. So what I'm going to do is go to twitch.tv/scopes GG. And then I'm going to click on chat here, click settings, non-mod settings, and then pop out chat. And then this pop out chat pops up. I'm going to Control A, Control C to copy and paste that. And then I'm going to go back in here, right click properties, and then replace this. If I went too fast for you guys, just maybe try rewatching that again. But the whole purpose of this is you can essentially add in browser sources and stuff like Stream Elements and Streamlabs OBS utilize browser sources for like overlays and alerts and stuff like that. So it's a really good way of doing it. And if we need to resize this, we can. So let's go ahead and resize that to 400 by 600. And that's a little more manageable and kind of fits in this area. So you can see with all of that, we were able to add that in really quick. So another thing that you might want to do for some reason is group things together, and groups are pretty cool. So let's create a group and call this video devices for some reason, right? So if we wanted to, for example, we could put our webcam, which is a video device, and say our monitor together inside of a group, and we could turn them on or off at the same time, lock them together so they don't accidentally get moved, like the other stuff on the screen is able to be moved. And it just gives you some features for organizing stuff such as your sources inside of your different scenes. The last thing that we're going to look at inside of sources is filters. Filters are actually really, really cool, and they allow you to have some more customization for the different sources inside of
I do.
Hey, your mic volume is very low.
Give me a second.
Oh. Anyway.
Can't hear you.
I say give me a weapon. I am pro in pump.
Oh, please.
There are ammo. There are ammo. Hey, come on, man. There are ammo.
Come closer to the mic.
Ammo. No. Thanks. Escape.
Don't leave, okay? Okay, well.
Okay. We're flying.
going? Fucking hell. Some people, man. Yo, I've got witch's brooms. Let's go there. I'll get another one. Coming. Upp, Uganda style. See you later. Uganda style. Sissy lady. Woo! I got one for you. Come. Come to me, come to me. I got. Yo. Come. Take one. Oh, you got one. Ah, sweet. There in the water.